preparing live stream. You know, it takes so very little to get me excited.
Well, I'm glad I made your day.
That's exciting because I'm on
Live stream. Okay, here we go.
Zoom at so many different places, you know, like okay, you can't do it on your phone though, right?
Probably not. There's no space bar on your phone.
What did I miss, Betsy?
I hate doing it on the phone. Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, Linnell she's got herself on mute, right? If you have background noise or whatever when you're on Zoom, it's always nice to keep yourself on mute until it's time to talk. In this class, it's kind of an interactive class, so no need to keep yourself on mute. I don't care. But in many Zoom classes, you do want to. And so Linnell popped in real quick and said, "Hi, Betsy," or something like that. And I was like, how did she do that so fast? And she said she hit the space bar. So if you put yourself on mute right now, so I'm going to mute myself. But if I hold down the space bar, it unmutes temporarily and I can say hi.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of cool. No more struggling to find where's the mute button. I love it. Okay, like I said, I'm easily amused.
Temporary is that? Can you do your whole talk or it's just for a few seconds or is it
No,
permanent?
as long as I'm holding the space bar down,
Oh, okay.
which would be annoying to do my whole talk that way.
Then you
But
got
yeah,
time to get yourself off mute.
yeah, for a quick, taking yourself off mute, that's a great feature. I didn't know that. How did you learn that, Linnell?
I think it came up on one of my Zoom things
Huh.
one time. I don't know. That's how I do it all the time because I almost always mute because
Yeah.
my dog is usually in the background.
Do you have any more
making
tricks
noise.
up your sleeve while we're at it?
Not this morning, no.
Joyce.
Okay, when you first turn on mute, if you look very quickly to the top of the screen for about 2 seconds, a little sign pops up that says to temporarily unmute, press a bunch of things or hold the space bar. Just for the second when you have muted.
For mine, it says Alt-A
Right,
for the space.
or hold the space bar.
I never saw that either. Of
Where,
course, I'm never muted on
Comes and
Zoom.
goes real fast.
Yeah. That's pretty neat. So if you hit the alternate key, ALT, and the A key at the same time, that would also temporarily unmute you, but that's annoying as can be when you can just hit spacebar, which is a nice big easy bar. You don't have to find things.
I don't see that little message, Joyce. Does it come up in your box?
It comes up at the very top of the screen, just the second when you mute yourself for just 2 seconds, as soon as you mute yourself.
And that might be for an Apple because when I do it, when I put my cursor over the audio microphone icon,
Right.
it comes up right over the audio button. So it doesn't, for me on a HP or a PC, it comes to the bottom right over the button, not on the top. So that might be the difference between a Mac and a PC.
Now, I don't see what Joyce just said, but that's okay. The
Well,
space bar.
You know, you know where the icon is for the microphone, right?
Yes.
Put your cursor on it. Click it and see if you get a little white box. Not up above, look down below because you're on a PC. Look down below.
Oh, I'm on an Apple.
Oh, you are? Okay.
See, and I don't get anything that tells me that, but I remember that years ago I knew about that.
Huh. Well,
but I don't get I can't find anything about it.
Terry.
You know where it's Linda, it's when you're on the audio button and you click it to mute. Very, very quickly.
You did the whole explanation muted.
You're muted, Linda. You're muted.
All right, Terry has her
Is
hand up.
there? There's a whole description that, but I don't have my glasses on, so I
Yeah.
didn't read it.
Yeah.
Terry,
Okay.
I have a fast thing. We'd been away, but that doesn't matter. And my phone didn't charge last night. And I didn't realize it until I got up and saw my alarm hadn't gone off. And I tried all the things you possibly, I changed wires, I changed the wire, I turned it off so that maybe it would charge faster, and it really didn't. It was really slow, and I have it plugged in now. I just don't know. I don't know how that could happen suddenly. I've charged it, I was away, but we charged it for the days.
put it in airplane mode.
Okay, that.
It may charge faster
Maybe it
that
is
way.
now. Okay.
All right, so now we have to go back to Medina's early morning question. You get a
Oh.
message. You get a message.
When I'm in my Gmail, I very often, when I will get a message, a little box that says, do you want to switch to Chrome?
Right. So the answer is you don't have to. But if you are using any of the Google products, whether it's Gmail or particularly if you're using Documents or any of the other things that you can use in Google, right? The whole suite of products, they work better in Chrome. So I will say that you don't have to use it, but they do seem to work better. What you're asking it to do is, let me think of an analogy. You're taking a system, like an email system, and you're asking it to work in a different system than it was designed for.
So, okay.
They work.
Yeah.
They absolutely work, but it does work better if you use it in Chrome. It works better if you use Google Docs in Chrome. If you're sharing documents with people and you have a Yahoo account and somebody gives you access to a document, you can get to it, but it works better if you use your Gmail. What I find is that when I'm sending documents to people who don't have Gmail, even though I give them full permission, they still have to stop and ask permission. I gave them permission. I gave them options to edit this document. I send it to them. I say on my end, all of the settings, yes, they can do this. And then they send me a request to edit. So it's not letting them do it because they're not using the system that designed the document, right? So a Yahoo person can look at a document, but it's annoying because they have to go through extra hoops. So
So does that mean that when I'm not on Gmail, my browser is still on Chrome? It
your
switches.
browser is where you are when you decide where you are.
Okay.
So, and the thing that Medina said earlier was, oh, so Chrome's a browser. So yes. So how we get on the internet is by browsers, right? Internet browsers.
Right.
And so, we've got many different kinds of browsers. We've got, Safari, we've got Chrome, we've got Firefox, we've got DuckDuckGo, we've got, Microsoft Edge. Name something that you use that I haven't mentioned. Anybody using anything different? Okay, so those are the basics. Hey, Gloria.
Hi.
Morning. So
Good
I'm going to
morning.
share my screen, and I'm using Chrome as my browser, but I can also go here and I can go Microsoft. It's not even coming up as Edge yet because I don't use it. Even though this is a Microsoft-based computer. So here's Microsoft Edge web browser, and oh, there's also Internet Explorer. I forgot that one.
All right.
And then you've got the ones like Brave that have tighter controls like DuckDuckGo does.
Yeah.
So I can download. And so I would need to download Edge. Now I've taken it off my computer, so I'm not going to. But if I do that, I can use Edge for some things. I can use Chrome for other things. It doesn't matter what you choose. Let's go with DuckDuckGo. And again, it's also a download. So I'm going to put that browser on my desktop and use it. So all of the browsers, you can have multiple browsers. Morning, Andy. You can choose between them what you're going to use because they're just an icon, right? When you look at your desktop, you've got an icon, hey, Amy, and that icon is what's going to open the window, the portal for you to get onto that highway to do your browsing. Right? They're all different. You would have to download it on your computer. Same thing with on your phone. You know, on all of the Apple phones come with Safari already on it. All the Android phones come with Chrome already on it. But that doesn't mean you can't do other browsers. And to do that, you're going to go in your App Store and you're going to download another browser. Joyce, I know you use DuckDuckGo. Do you have that on your phone as well?
Yes, I use Safari for general stuff, like if I'm looking at a newspaper article and they have to click on it or somebody sending
Yeah.
a click on, that's Safari, and that's, again, I'm straight Apple and I have Apple across the board. But if I'm actually looking up something, like I want to check on for a flight or I want to find out some information about something, I go to DuckDuckGo, and it shows up as an app on my on my phone or on
Yeah.
my computer.
So you have to switch so you actually, when you're looking something up, you would actually have to switch from Safari to DuckDuckGo?
Yeah, yeah, I'll go up on the top where it says to click in where you write in your web, the web thing you want to go to, and I'll just write DuckDuckGo and then I'll switch over.
Oh,
Or
I
on the phone, it's I actually have it, right there.
Yep.
And I'll click on that.
I
And,
see. I see.
and then I don't get ads for whatever I was looking at.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So DuckDuckGo and Brave and other ones like that, other browsers like that are limit your trail, so to speak. You get on, you look at what you're looking at, but it's not tracking you. Everything else pretty much tracks you. And for some people, that's a really good thing. They don't want anything that they do tracked. And, that's a personal preference. I enjoy the convenience of all of the Google stuff meshing together, and in a kind of creepy way, it kind of knows what I want to do before I'm doing it. Yeah, it is kind of creepy, and it's also convenient, and it's a choice I make. I'm not at this point yet concerned about my privacy being invaded in a way that's damaging to me. And people have different levels of privacy concerns and needs. And, that's totally acceptable. What, matters to you, it's a trade-off. You get convenience when you have tracking things happening. Like Joy says, if she goes to DuckDuckGo and she's looking up something like a flight, then she's not going to get a million ads all week long about flights to wherever, right? If you start car shopping and you car shop on any other browser, you're going to get ads about cars. That's what tracking is about. Annoying, yes. Helpful, also. One or the other, it really just depends on your personal preferences. No, now in Texas last week, within the last couple of weeks, Texas sued Google and won like a big settlement because Google was doing two tracking things that Texas said, you didn't really tell us about it. And Google has lost this lawsuit pretty much every time it comes up. And so hopefully Google's going to put some changes in place about it. But what Texas said was, we turned off tracking and you still tracked us. And you shouldn't do that. And so Google went, okay, here's a bunch of money, you know? And it was when they thought tracking was turned off, when the customer thought tracking was turned off, and then also when they were in incognito mode, which if you ever go to incognito mode, it says some of your stuff is still tracked. When you go to the, I don't remember what the, don't go there often, new incognito tab, it says, others who use this device won't see your activity, so you can browse more privately. This won't change how data is collected by the websites you visit and the services they use, including Google, downloads, bookmarks, and reading list items will be saved. Chrome will not save your browsing history, cookies and site data, information entered in forms. Your activity might still be invisible, which it is, to the websites you visit, to your employer or your school, and your internet service provider. So incognito mode doesn't mean that you are 100% anonymous. It means that some things won't be saved. But Texas felt that it wasn't explanatory enough that they can track all of your movements on incognito as well. So, you know, they had to spend a big payout and across multiple states on the tracking that they do. So hopefully they're, you know, willing to consider that maybe we don't want to be tracked as much as they think that it's valuable to them. I mean, think about it. The amount of money that they, and I don't remember the number, but the amount of money they spent for Texas to pay out this settlement. Think of how much money they made when they had no problem paying. I want to say it was billions, but it could have been just hundreds of millions of dollars. It was a lot of money. So there's a lot of money in tracking and data. So thank you for that question, Medina. I just want to make sure that everybody understood what browsers are, because I think not everybody, you know, like you kind of get in a habit and you do your thing and you get on Safari or you get on Google and you just go with it and you forget that there are other options and that you can have multiple ones, just like you can have multiple email addresses. All right, so we're going to talk first about the dark web. Oh, sorry, Linda. Let me stop that a minute. Hang on, let me go back. You had your hand up.
I just wanted to add something. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so like Joyce was showing that on her phone, she has the icon for other browsers. I keep the other icons on my desktop. So I don't have to type it in. I just
Yes.
the icon.
Yes. And you do have to download it, which was, you know, what I was showing you, that when you, if you want to explore some other browsers, you have to download it on your computer or get the app on your phone. Either way, you can't just hop on, you can't hop on Google Chrome and start surfing Safari.
Easy to download the app and then you have the icon on your desktop.
Everybody surfing Safari.
Thank you. I realized when it came out of my mouth what I was saying, but there we go. Carlene, you said no in the chat. No what? She's muted.
So Andy asked me if I was teaching yoga tomorrow. I didn't realize
okay.
when I replied, it went to everybody. I thought he replied to me, so I thought it was private. That's funny. I did the same thing in a text the other day. I sent my line dance teacher an invitation to come to my class free of charge, but I sent it to 2 other people that I didn't realize were on that text, but it's no big deal. It was
So everybody
Anyway.
had a free day on you. Martin, where'd
Yeah.
you go? Your
I don't
computer.
know. My screen just went blank. I don't know. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you see us?
I don't know. My screen is black
I
completely.
see.
I'm gonna hit escape and see what happens. Oh well. Nothing.
Well, we
I
can
don't know.
hear you. I'm sorry you can't see.
I know. I didn't touch the computer at all. Just boom, it went black. Huh.
Huh.
Well, I can hear you anyway, so go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. Well, stick around.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to go back to share and we're going to talk about dark web for a minute. So this is something that Google does because I have many Google accounts and I say yes, that I want this. And so what it does, I get an email in all of my accounts. They're all different, right? So if I go over here to I'm in Gmail and I go here, I can look and see all of the different email accounts that I manage here. And this one I happen to be in the Great Heart Helping Hands account, and it says your personal info is found on the dark web. So then I click view results, and these are the results that I get. This is pretty funny. I've never been on Twitter, so okay, let's just look and see what it says. Monitoring was found on a data breach on April 23rd, and it was I was on Twitter like a million years ago. So my username. Yeah, it's pretty public information, my username. So, they've got my email. I mean, everybody in the world has my email. I'm not worried about it. And it says, what can I do about it? I can set up two-factor authentication for email. That is already in place. So I'm not going to worry about that on this one. Next one, United States online shopping. And again, my username, my gender. Wow, that's a long word for my gender. Interesting. Okay, I'm not worried about that as well. And it says, what can I do? Set up two-factor authentication. Okay, and AT&T, so that's an old one. That one, we all knew that kind of happened. And it says right here, I don't have to actually go to it. Phone number, social security number, name, date of birth, address, and mail. Now that's a problem, the social security number. But when this happened, we got a notification from AT&T that said, we're going to protect your identity for the next, and I don't remember how long, because I've got now so many accounts that had, gotten hacked in some way, shape, or form by major corporations. AT&T, I think Blue Cross and Blue Shield was one of them. There are many. And so I have protection from like 3 different companies of if my stuff gets hacked, stolen in a way that actually affects me, then I have like $1 million policy to, that's going to pay me off. It's like an insurance policy on it. So, yay, Sandra made it. So, that's pretty much what you want to do when you've got a major hack like that. The other thing that we did right when AT&T came in and said, this has happened, oops, sorry, is that we went ahead and froze our accounts in all 3 credit reporting agencies. And if you have not frozen your accounts, I highly recommend it. So at this point in game, Martin's back.
Yeah, it's
Good
amazing.
job.
My computer crashed. I re-entered. Now I'm back. All right.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, if at this stage in life, it's pretty easy for us to just go ahead and freeze our accounts because we're probably not doing a whole lot of big buying. And if you're going to buy a home or a car or whatever it is that where you're not going to pay for it right away, then you just unfreeze the account while you're doing that transaction, and then afterwards you freeze them back up again. Having a frozen account means that nobody else can open up an account, fraudulently on you. Because when they go to do whether it's, getting a credit card or a mortgage or a car loan, when the company goes to check and it says accounts frozen, they're going to say, well, you have to unfreeze the account to buy this car. And then the person is going to have to go away because they know they can't unfreeze the account. So it's a great stopgap for you to protect yourself if you've got all of these hacks. And we have so many of them now that's probably going to be your best line of defense or your last line of defense. Your first line of defense is having good protections all along the way. But stuff happens, you know, none of us had any control over whether or not AT&T got hacked, and all of our information got stolen, including social security numbers. So, you know, what are you going to do? You change your passwords and your usernames, and you just move on. It's kind of part of life nowadays. So any questions about dark web?
Yeah, I've got one.
Go ahead.
Is it my turn? Should I?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. I was in Florida. I got a fishing license, a 3-day fishing license, and they asked a lot of questions that I didn't feel like answering. They wanted social security numbers, they wanted addresses and my name and everything like that. Is there any information about the Florida fishing license due to the fact, you know, you're headquartered in Florida? Should we put that down, or just if we don't put it down, I don't think I'll get the license, you know?
Correct. I think it's a lot like getting a driver's license.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Andy?
You don't need a Florida fishing license if you're over 65.
well, if you're out of state, I think you do.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah. I'm only there for 2 months a year, you know, so I have to get a license. And the-
Martin, do you
I-
own
what?
do you own your property in Florida though?
No, I rent it.
Oh.
See, normally I try to get away with it because I was raised in Brooklyn, New York, you know, but the guy I'm with is a nervous wreck and he wants me to get the license and stuff like that, you know. If the game warden came over, I'd give him the money and say, could you register this for me because of the rush, you know what I mean? So anyway,
I think you have an option to not give your social security number. I
yeah,
think you can give your driver's license instead.
okay, I'll check that out.
I would try that because and otherwise everything else is all pretty much public information, Martin.
Yeah,
Your social security number is not, but everything else pretty much is.
yes, okay.
So
Well, I was just curious about the legality of that and how much information can they push for a 3-day fishing license? You know, they were
Yeah.
asking me for my you know,
I want to be able to prosecute you if you're poaching,
Yeah, well, you know,
you know.
we can handle the fine on the spot.
So I'm gonna go and so setting it up so that you see what your dark web results are, you have to set it up and say that you are monitoring the dark web. Now this is on Google. So let's see if and anybody can tell me right now, Safari dark web monitoring. And it's not coming up right. Monitoring tool. Let's see what Safari uses. There's no specific one for, you can use dedicated ones for your web browser using dedicated ones. Let's show more. So here are some monitoring systems, huh? Okay. All right. So things like LifeLock, if you've got that, which by the way, where is Jackie? Identity Guard is one that I think we got with that AT&T breach. But I will, oh, and Experian has one. So here are several. I will just copy these and we'll put it in the email that I'm going to send in the future to myself. And just put this in there so I'll have it all together. So there are some, so all I'm doing is sending myself, I could have stuck it in notes, but this is the easiest way because I've already got a list going of what I'm going to send to you all. So these are specific ones. So if you use Safari, then you have to go with an outside dark web monitoring service, which is not a bad thing. I highly recommend getting a notification if you are found on the dark web, because otherwise, how do you know? How do you know what's going on? And how do you know how much of your information is out there? AT&T didn't tell us they were hacked for months. So our stuff was already out there for months. and a lot of big companies like to hide the fact that their security was lax and that they weren't actually protecting us. All right, so we're going to talk about legacy accounts next. And I'm going to, because I started with the Chrome feature first. Let me go back. And this is specifically an Apple legacy account. So and they call it contacts. How many people have legacy contacts already?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. Linda does. Anyone else? Okay.
I've never heard of it.
If you don't, then you don't.
Okay.
If you're not sure, then you don't. So this is just a quick search because it's easier when I don't have an Apple thing. How to add a legacy contact. So this is just an article, and it explains exactly what it is. So this is a person who you choose to give access when you die. So when you die, all of the stuff that is your data and all of your information, people need to get into your accounts, even if it's just to, use or sell your devices. But here's the whole article about it. It's a really good
Betsy?
thing. Yes,
Is there one for Android too?
there is. I'm starting with Apple first because I
Okay.
started with Android first a minute ago. And it gives
Oh.
you a step by step by step exactly how to do that. So I will be sending you this. The next one is going to my Google account, and I'm going to go to the other one. We're going to go to this Google account, and it says manage your Google account, right? Do you all see where I just went?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. All right. So now what I'm going to do is, rather than waste time trying to find, I'm just going to type in, actually they use a different word. It is the inactive account in Google. All right, inactive account, and why are you not going anywhere? There we go, inactive account manager. So what happens if you can't use your Google account anymore? Decide when Google should consider you inactive. So you can just, and I have not set it up for this particular account. All of this can pretty much die when I die. The other stuff, the personal account, I do have it set up. So I would just go to inactive account manager and I would hit start. Notice that as I go down, you can't access any of these things. They're gray, but I can say decide when Google should consider your Google account inactive. We will only trigger the plan if you haven't used your account for some time. The default is 3 months of inactivity. I can change that. I can say 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. So for instance, if I knew that I was going to, I don't know, go on a very long trip for 6 months, and I was not going to have anything to do with this particular account because I use this account for 3 different organizations and I would be taking a break from those 3 organizations, then I would probably set it for longer than 3 months. For my personal one, I set it up for 3 months because that's the shortest amount of time you can. And you can also add a phone number here with that, which my other account does. And there's my recovery email for this particular one. Notice again, I still can't do this, choose to notify, because I haven't actually hit start. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to the start button. Oh, and I went right out of it. Inactive account manager. So much easier than trying to find where it is. All right, and I hit start. and it starts with decide. So it went right to where I was. Then I click next. So all of that stuff's correct. I'm not going to add my phone number. Choose who to notify. I say that I want to enter Scott Based. And then down at the bottom here, I click next. And then what do I want to share with him? I can just select all, or I can select specific things that I want him to be able to get into. So I'm just going to click select all. Then down at the bottom, I have next. When your account becomes inactive, it will send, oh, I spelled his name wrong. Oh, shoot. I'm going to have to go back and correct that. Let me see. I'm going to have to add a person and actually spell it correctly. Did I do it right this time? Yes. All right. And I can take that other one off once I've got it set up. So now I click next. Now it says, when your account becomes inactive, they will send an email to him. They'll be able to download a copy of all the data I've selected. Now, in order to confirm their identity, I am going to have to enter his phone number. And I've done that in the other one. But 305, I think this is it. I don't have to remember anything anymore. And I can choose to add a personal message. Love you, miss you. And then save it. And so now, and so this is the correct one. Good. But notice I can also edit this. So I didn't go any further with the other one. So it stopped right there. I can also delete this. What I did was I also added another person and I put my daughter in my personal one. And then scroll down a little bit. If you use Gmail, you can set up auto reply that will be sent after your account becomes inactive. This will inform anyone who emails you that you are no longer using this account. And you can set up an auto reply and you can say, it's been great knowing you. Have a lot to drink at my funeral. You know, whatever it is you want to say, it doesn't matter. I'm going to say cancel that. I can decide not to do that. I can click next. Decide if your inactive account should be deleted. So if it were a situation where this doesn't need to, you know, exist anymore, then I can just decide to delete it. And I would click this as a yes, set to 3 months after your account becomes inactive. And I can, but I'm going to turn that off for now. And now, so let's say that I decide I'm not going to do that. I click to review my plan, and here's my plan. I said that it would be inactive after 3 months. It would notify one contact, and my account will not be deleted. And I choose receive email reminders that my inactive account manager is turned on, and I confirm that. So now I will get emails from time to time. It doesn't happen very often. But on my other one, and see, I can continue to manage it to change what my choices are. You know, if Scott were to die before me, then I would need to change this. So that's pretty much what an inactive account manager is. In the Apple situation, and if you have accounts for both, you should do both. I mean, I have an Apple account and an Apple ID as well. And so I would want to set up my legacy contacts for that so that he also had access to everything Apple for me. Medina.
So, okay, so how did you get there to start?
With my, I will do that again. So share screen, go to my window, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this because that's how I got there. I already had email open, right? So I go over here, and here in the upper right-hand corner is this icon for this Google account, right? And then right below this Google account, let me move this little thing here, it says manage this Google account. If I wanted to manage a different Google account, I would click the different Google account first and then click manage my Google account. Once I do that, it opens up a new window for me. And then this is my Google account for this account here.
Right.
And so then, like I said, because I really don't want to go through and take the time to look at all of these, because there's a lot of good information here, and this is something you should review from time to time, all of these tabs. What I just did was I went inactive.
That's how you get to legacy?
This is how I get to inactive account manager.
Okay,
When
but
I
how did
want
you-
to
how did
do Apple Legacy,
Yeah, when you, to set this up.
yep. So Apple Legacy is different.
Okay,
Apple calls it a legacy contact, so slightly different name, essential thing. This article here tells you all about it. I
okay,
didn't go through it because I'm not going to go through this with an Apple account.
right,
So I'm going to send you this link,
okay,
and you will just have to follow step by step by step.
yeah.
It says to file an access request, Apple requires you to submit the death certificate. Wow. Google doesn't do that. But this is a really good article that's going to tell you how to do it on your iPhone or your iPad, how to do it on your Mac, everything that you need to do. If you're in a family sharing group, all of that stuff. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, Terry,
Make sure you tell the person that you are doing this. I had a friend that died recently, and I got something from Facebook that I was her designate. I can't think of the word. And her son told me that. She said I was trying to get into all her accounts, and it has you as the,
Executor?
I don't know what you call
well, it's
it.
not executor. It would
Legacy
be,
contact.
yeah, it would be legacy contact.
Legacy,
if it's
yeah,
Apple.
on Facebook. So it was very funny. It was kind of easy, because people knew me, her friends and family knew me. And so they actually just sent me her phone because that was easier than having somebody showing somebody how to do it, which I didn't know. But same thing with any of the other accounts. Just make sure you know. Like I might assume it's John, but it might be, Susie.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really interesting that she set you up as that and then didn't tell you. I will look into legacy accounts with Facebook. I had not heard of that.
I like that idea because I keep getting notices about people who died 10 years ago, that they want to befriend me.
Something entirely different. Linda, you had your hand up?
I get requests from people who have expired all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know what's going on with that. That's just pure, stealing identity on Facebook. It happens whether you're dead or alive. It doesn't matter.
My mother-in-law gets birthday wishes from people, and she's 8 years from 8 years.
Well, and that's different. That's different. I mean, I have a friend who is my age who died a couple of years ago, and that her family chose to leave that open, leave her account open, and people do post remembrances. They post, birthdays and other, remembrances of that person. It kind of keeps them alive for them. And there's, that's a choice you make. That's something you might want to tell your family. Do you want to remain postable on Facebook? For some people, it's a healing thing. And it's a connection. Your total choice though. All right. Let's talk about, we looked at Have I Been Pawned in the past, and I found a new one. And this is about being compromised. And so let me just copy the link, set up a new tab, paste it, and we'll go to this one. All right. Might as well open the other one. All right. So just to review, there are, of what I am aware, 2 different companies that show you where your stuff has been hiding. So you can, on your own, start looking and seeing what kind of data breaches are happening. So if I put in Great Heart Helping Hands for You @gmail.com, and I do a check on Have I Been Pawned, there are 0 data breaches. Well, that's kind of bizarre because it just said in my dark web report that there are some. So this must be behind. Let me do my personal one because I know that we've looked at this before. And we have found common breaches that we know about. So this says 12 data breaches. So if I go down and Internet Archive, let's see. Stay protected, notify me. No, I don't need them to tell me. So oh, there it is, September 2024. So this is not very up to date. Kind of interesting. This is old stuff.
2020.
2020, and I know about these. These are absolutely nothing new. I can click on view the details and how many people were affected, when it occurred, what happened, what was compromised, and recommended actions. So they're going to say the same thing over and over and over again. Change your password. Don't use the same password. Have different passwords. Enable two-factor authentication. Monitor for suspicious activity by using one of those things that's going to monitor the dark web. This one is a sponsored ad saying use 1Password to generate strong, unique passwords. That's an ad right there. So this is one. The other one is from Cyber News, and this is check if your data has been leaked. So let's see, email or phone, great, helping hands for you at Gmail, and see if they are any more up to date. And it says I'm safe for now. So again, not so current. Let me put in my personal one and see if I get anything different. All right, so your data has been leaked and 12 times. So this has got the same access, different setup, kind of interesting how they're doing it. Kind of a simplified, they want you to sign up for Cyber News, which I like Cyber News. It's got good information. But this is all kind of the same stuff. And let's see if I click, no, that's not a link. Interesting, this one does not show. It says change the password for all accounts that use that leaked password, but I'm not seeing, and somebody help me. Your data was found. Okay, so here's the list of them, but no way, no links for me to click on to see the details of exactly what.
Right.
Yeah, nothing there.
Nothing you can click on Twitter or anything?
No, when I looked at it here, and it's interesting because so it's Dropbox, MyFitnessPal, but there were other ones. So, these are ones that they're the older ones. These are not the ones that include like the combo list and some of the bigger ones where what got leaked then got sold, bundled and sold. And so there's much bigger lists. So I'm not thrilled with these results. They're good in the moment. Check and see. Well, Nessie already did that. Let's just see what happens when we go there. No, we already did that. So this one's not very useful. I wouldn't even bother with it because it's at least Have I Been Pwned gives me an opportunity to click on a particular leak and see what happened. And it gives me more detailed information about it. Looks like monitoring dark web results with either Google or one of those other independent ones that I gave you is going to give you much better information. It's much more current, I mean, those were all old. That's not helpful. If I'm going to have monitor dark web, I want to know now that it's happening. And what you can do in the meantime is all the things that they're going to recommend anyway. Here's the broken record part. Have unique, strong, difficult passwords. Change your passwords from time to time. Use a password manager. Broken record done. All right. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys today is about the screen time. I found an interesting article that talks about what I've given you is how to monitor screen time. And this is with iPhone. And I will be sending you this article. Pretty simple. We also have, oh, I didn't put the Android one. I will put the Android one in and send it to you. It's really simple, going into settings and monitoring your screen time. Why? In the past, I thought that monitoring your screen time was so that, you know, it's kind of, there's been a lot of studies talking about the amount of time you spend on a screen does not contribute to your health and well-being in many, many ways. But the newest information is monitoring your screen time actually protects you from cyber attacks. I know. I did the same thing, Joyce. And I will be sending you that article about why that happens. But basically, the amount of time that you spend on a particular thing on your phone or your computer or your iPad, that time is also that number. You know, let's say I spent 5 hours on Words with Friends today. That number is also useful data. And all data is valuable these days. And so by monitoring your screen time, what the latest word is that actually protects you from being more hackable. And it's, yeah, I know. I love the faces, Medina. And I think that knowledge is power, right? So we may think, well, I just have to get on this because this is important for me right now, and I have to do this. And has anybody ever gone down a rabbit hole and then you're just kind of there for a while? You were
Yes.
going to check one thing, or you were going to post one thing, or you were going to share a happy birthday with a friend. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I have a meeting to go to. And I've been on Facebook for an hour. Yeah, Terry.
I was with about 10, 25 to 40 something year olds week and this weekend, and we could not stop laughing at that kind of stuff. When you spend the time on that, or and the other thing they discussed that was interesting is about the dark web and about the people that were really involved in that and got started, probably have now moved on to the darker or very dark web, that because it's too accessible to people, the dark web.
It's very accessible. Yeah, good point. Medina and then Linda.
Okay, so I get a message on my iPhone. You know, you averaged 8 hours of screen time this week. And so 8 hours, I think 8 hours a day of screen time this week. And what I do most of the time when I go to bed, I put on classical music, or I listen to a podcast, and then I wake up 3-4 hours later to go to the bathroom. It's still on. So if I'm listening to classical music, you're saying that I could still get hacked?
Well, the point is that the information, our activities, are important information for folks. So in nefarious or non-nefarious ways, let's just take this as an example, and I'll just let my imagination go with it. If I am a music source and want to make money off of you, then I might try and sell you things related to classical music. I could try and just target you for ads for concerts, for instance. So, and you go, well, that's a very benign thing, but that's that tracking piece, that the fact that you had classical music playing or any kind of music playing. I'm sure that it knows which channel you were, but let's just say that we'll stick with the classical format, that played for 4 hours, then you are someone who are a market target for anything related to that kind of art. And so that information I can sell to someone who is trying to target people, whether it's, selling tickets. It's hard to say selling CDs and things like that anymore, but people do buy them. They are still made. Music sources, just all kinds of ways that information would be valuable to someone. And so someone's making money off of the fact that you go to sleep listening to classical music. I think, although I don't know on an Apple, so correct me, Joyce. Just go to my Joyce button. I believe that many apps like that have timeouts
They do.
that it
Yes.
will, you can set it to stop at an hour. And if you're not asleep by an hour, then I think you have bigger problems than I do, because
They
I have
have.
a hard time falling asleep. But you know what I mean? Any of those things like that, you can time out.
On your
And
clock. On your clock, it has a timer also.
okay.
Clock app, it has a timer, turn it off in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but podcasts all have that. I'm not sure about all the music, but I use the timer on the,
How do you,
when you go to the clock, you have you like click again. Now you go like where you set up an appointment. And at the bottom, I guess it says a timer, like 00.
Okay,
The
so
clock
let me,
is on the bottom.
I'm going to go to, for instance, do you use Spotify, right?
no,
Do you use,
I use Apple Music.
you use Apple Music? Okay. So let me just look in settings, in Apple Music.
So I can tell you there's no setting to time it out, but you just put on an album that's 45 minutes and you've timed out at the
So
end of the
if you're,
playlist.
okay, are you playing a radio option on Apple Music?
No.
Like the classical?
No, I'm using my playlist. My Apple Music playlist of
Okay.
classical music goes from one song to the next to the next. To the
Right.
Yes,
next.
but you can make your playlist a certain time limit, like 45 minutes, and then you should be asleep.
And on Apple Music, though, there's a setting to, because after I do my playlist, it will continue on with suggested music, with music
Right.
that is
That's
related to that.
true.
So you
Yes.
have to turn that setting off. Joyce, unmute
Wow.
yourself.
Okay, so when you use on the clock at the bottom, there's world clock, alarm, stopwatch, and timers. The key thing is you have to choose when the timer ends to stop playing. Otherwise, you set yourself for half an hour or an hour, and then you hear a little chime. You don't want to do that. That'll wake you up. You want to make sure it says when timer ends, stop playing, and you have that option.
Yes.
It's at the bottom of all the different dings and times.
Okay, so what app is that on, Joyce?
It's on timers on the clock.
A timer.
On your clock timer. Okay.
So which one do you check? Stopwatch or timers?
Timers. The stopwatch it's like it tells you, it keeps going until you tell it to stop.
Right.
Now on
Okay, I see.
on my clock, on an Android clock, which is just called clock,
Mhm.
I also have one that is called bedtime. So there's one on the clock for bedtime. Choose a regular bedtime, disconnect from your device, and listen to soothing sounds. I'm just wondering, okay, so it says set a regular wake up alarm, and well, let me just do that and say next. Set your bedtime and silence your device. So bedtime mode, I get to choose what are the settings on bedtime mode. So that's kind of interesting. There's lots of choices to make. And I can customize it all. And
See you
that's
next week. I
that's
gotta
it.
go.
Okay. Yeah, we all need to go.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great
Thank
class. I
you.
learned as much from you, hopefully, as you learned from me. I will be sending you an email about all of the stuff we talked about.
I think I
Thank
have a
you.
problem because my phone's still not charging. Must be the phone, not the cord.
Check your, Terry, take
Yeah.
a toothpick and very, very gently look in the portal and make sure that you don't have something, a chunk of something, a piece of sand or whatever, and very gently try and dislodge if you've got something that's
Okay.
blocking contact on that.
Damn it. That happened to my phone when I got the day after I got a new phone. It couldn't fix. And that was just a
Do
year ago.
do either an option for this also, if that's not it, and you're using a different cord, because sometimes cords, they get a lot of damage getting moved around. Get the kind of charger where you just set the phone on it.
Okay. Yeah, I have one at home.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, in my
thank
car, I have that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
you. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.
Hi, thanks.
Thank you. There's Amy.
I'm here. Good class.